All right, hello everyone, welcome back to Crypto Warehouse. My name's Brogan, and today we are back for another trading stream. It's been a lovely day today, hopefully you guys have had a great day as well. I've been on the charts, just, nosing about before the stream, taking my time, make sure I know what I'm going to say, know what's not, what's been going on during the time I've been away, and something absolutely beautiful happened in Bitcoin. We've been talking for a while about us coming down quite far, actually, about 114 and a half, what it was exactly. Obviously we're going to go into it, but we've been talking about that for a while, having a big retracement for Bitcoin, having a nice 114 dip. We had this massive buy and we hadn't come down yet, and I thought, you know what, I would love for us to come down. And something beautiful has happened today. I am within $1. The line I've drawn anyway for my midpoint low was within $1 of the low, which is absolutely tremendous. So obviously we'll look at that. But I'm pretty happy so far. Yeah, pretty happy. Hopefully you guys have been happy with the chart so far if you have been trading. Obviously none of this financial advice, as I do get into the charts in a second. None of it's financial advice. Do not trade it. Only trade it based on your opinion. I'm going to look at the chat quickly actually. KB, shout out to you. Even to you. Hidden Genders, shout out to you as well. Appreciate you guys for being here. I'm excited. I'm just getting into it. I'm gonna start the timer before I forget, because I always forget. Let's just get into it. I'm happy. I'm not as tired as I was last stream. I'm ready to go into it. It might not seem like we've actually had a move down because we're 118,137. So we had a nice recovery from that move, which makes sense. Again, it was like a daily high point. It was really like significant. So obviously, I think it was like maybe 4 hours as well. There's been multiple time frames have this massive kind of area from the pump we've had, which led all the way up to 123k till now. We had a massive area, below us to try and come to. Ethereum 3,700. We did have that retracement. We were talking on, we were talking on Thursday about Ethereum. I was looking at the 15-minute because there wasn't really much to look at on the 1 hour because we've kind of just done this, so there wasn't really much to talk about. But I was focusing more on the lower time frame, and I was talking about a bit of retracement towards one of the lows, and we did actually come down to that area. Obviously, we've done more now because again, it's the 50-minute. 50-minute is like when I talk about stuff heavily on the 50-minute, it's not going to be things which are going to last for ages. So even though it was a negative thing on the 50-minute, we have actually come up now, which is quite nice. So Ethereum, pretty happy. Solana as well. What have I looked at? Oh, I'm going to add more. I'm going to be quick today on Bitcoin. I'm not going to spend 30 minutes because I've added more. I've actually had charts I need to look at. I need to look at Crow and Moon Wrap Crow. So I've got 2 more things to look at on top of Syrup, on top of whatnot. I do want to look at Syrup. So I've actually got quite a busy schedule today for the charts. So I'm not going to yabby yabba too much. Solana, I'm trying to remember what I looked at before the stream. Just remember, give a little hint. Whatever, you know what, let's not waste time doing that. Let's just look at the prices and then we can move on to it. So 1.35% 24 hour on Bitcoin, again, not bad. I'm not surprised our numbers are pretty small across the board because again, we did have that 114 retracement. I know I've just seen a message. If you're coming to Binance Square and you're asking for money, you're just not going to get it. All right. I mean, maybe. I think Mike might be on the other end of this. So, maybe he might give a packet or whatever the hell, but I'm not just going to give you. I'm not just going to send you USDT. All right, it's just not happening. So just don't bother. But anyway, yeah. So again, I'm not surprised. We haven't really had a much. The numbers on 7-day, 24-hour, whatever. They're not really impressive to any scale because again, we had that deep retracement and then moved up. And again, comparing it, and this is we've talked about this like pretty much every single stream. So far in terms of the charts, like Thursday, Tuesday, whatnot, and obviously Monday when we looked at the actual phases on Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, and whatnot. In terms of them kind of separating offwards and kind of looking at the fact that Bitcoin can be doing one thing, Ethereum doing another, then Solana, and then other things. So in terms of the money flow of how things have been moving in these massive pumps we're having, obviously Bitcoin first, Ethereum, then Solana, then altcoins, as we've seen with Syrup, as I'm going to talk about, because I did talk about us coming to at least 60 cents, if not the high, and guess what we did? We came to the high. So thank you very much. But yeah, in terms of the idea that there's money flow and that the fact that there can't just be a divergence of money equal volume across the market. I mean, that can happen. Again, it depends on what market's doing. But in terms of this, in theory, kind of phase we're in, where things are starting to ramp up and we're starting to be in that bullish phase, it obviously, I think it makes full sense to say there's never going to really be that period where there's equal amount of a high volume and equal amount. I think there's the case where it's high volume singularity, where obviously Bitcoin is the target, Ethereum's the target, Solana's been the target, Ethereum's been the target so far, Bitcoin has been the target, and obviously now we've had a retracement, but other lower cap coins are starting to become targets of these kind of pumps. Obviously, we've seen that with SERP, as we will look at in a second, and we've seen it with Crow as well. We are starting to ramp up a bit more. It's not massive. I mean, I think I was looking on a daily, so it's decently large, but it's not like a super 1000% move up, but it's still pretty decent. So we're definitely seeing that phase in and phase out of the money flow or whatever. So in Ethereum's case, obviously we are having that bit of a choppy, not really moving. 3,400, 3,700, 3,400 type of thing, where we're not really going anywhere. We are moving up, we are moving down. Again, 7 day, 5.5%, but we're not really in that phase where we've had a straight move up. And again, we've already had that. We're kind of just in this consolidation slash a recovery phase where we've had this massive just outburst, like an Olympic 100-meter sprint. We've absolutely blasted it, and now we're just drinking our electrolytes and sitting on the bench. So it's that rest, it's that period where we're kind of retracing a bit and finding our footing for Ethereum before we do whatever our next move is going to be. Obviously, same thing with Solana. Again, I'm still curious to see where Solana can hit a high at. Have we hit the high and whatnot? And again, I'm not a crystal ball holder or whatever. I can only give my best guess onto what I think is going to happen. I'm not a professional. Don't have a license in any of this or anything. But 186 isn't bad. Again, I don't think that's... I'm trying to remember what I did. I don't think that's too bad. But again, 5% as well on the 7 day. 24 hours still... I think Ethereum and Solana are still kind of in the same boat. I think Bitcoin's a bit longer ahead in the structure of the way the market moves. Bitcoin, we've really just seen that first move. I've been talking about this move for quite a few streams now, in terms of coming down to about 114k, waiting for that retracement into these big areas, which we've obviously produced as we've had this pump. So I'm still expecting this on Ethereum. I'm still expecting on Solana, but obviously we can still look at potential high points because we haven't quite seen that point yet. But I do still think across the board we are going to see that kind of global idea that we're going to see these retracements into these certain areas. So obviously we will see. Again, I'm just going to quickly go to winners. Finally, the first day that Pump.Fun has seen a move up. This is a absolutely historic day. It's a historic day. This is the first time I've ever filtered a 24-hour and actually seen Pump.Fun in anything doing green. That is absolutely amazing. Shout out to Pump.Fun, I guess. I still haven't looked at it. I just don't really care. I'm not gonna lie. 7 day. I mean, let's see what's going on. Nothing really going on. I mean, I don't care. I don't know why I bother looking at any point. Okay, messy chart. All right, your eyes have been blinded. I'm sorry. Okay. Hold on, let me read the chat. Ethereum's at 4K next week. I don't know about that. Okay. If I was to say, obviously Bitcoin, I can't say it because we've already seen the move down. But if I were to compare Ethereum and Solana in terms of having a potential move up again, I'm going to say Solana. I think Ethereum has been had it. Solana on the daily anyway. Again, and things is I'm looking more on the 1 hour and lately anyway on my past couple of streams. It's always realistically been the 1 hour and the 50 minutes. So it looks more dramatic. If you go to the daily, we still have this massive move. So I still think across the board we're going to have this retracement. Bitcoin's already done it, but I think across the board we're having these retracements. But in terms of a coin which could potentially, and we're going to talk about this on Solana actually, I'm remembering now, we are going to talk about this idea that on the daily that we could have these retracements and still go up one more time or a tiny bit more, and then obviously have deeper retracements. Obviously we'll get into it. For ETH at 2.7k. Again, you know what? I actually have a look. I remember talking about, I think it was like 3,200. I don't know if I've got anything 2.7. I don't know if I go that deep. I'll have a look now. Pump.Fun. Let's kill 8k. You know what? If we go to 8k. And this is the thing, it's like win-win. It's like, oh yeah, either my Ethereum goes up or I'm right. It's like, you know what I mean? Either I'm right or Ethereum goes up. Whoop-de-doo. Anyway, I'm yapping. Let's go. So, it's messy. I don't zoom out often, and I know it's ugly. And I remember what I said as well. I said on Thursday I was going to delete everything and clean the chart up. I'm sorry, I lied. I'm sorry. I'm like a drunk father who just like tells his son, "Oh, we're going to go Disneyland this year. We're going to do it." And when time comes around, it doesn't happen. And he's like, and he has to give this really pathetic speech, like, "Oh, sorry, bud. Maybe next year." Sorry guys, maybe Tuesday I'll sort my charts out. Anyway, so if I zoom out, you might remember, maybe, obviously, it's, you know, avert your minds back to Tuesday, Thursday. I might have looked at it as well. This whole thing going on. Oh yeah, I have talked about 113. I have talked about different areas, but on the 1 hour, talking about these main moves, I have the midpoint. And again, the only I can talk about, and I said this so many streams as well. You know what? No, I don't need to explain myself. No, this is I've meditated upon my streams, and I've learned a thing that a lot of the time when I speak a lot of words and they don't mean anything is when I'm trying to explain why I'm talking about something or why I think something. And you know what? A lot of you don't need to know. You don't. There's no point of me saying it because it's my thing. So I'm just gonna talk, and you take it on board or you don't. So midpoint, I looked at it. That's why you don't even know. 114,723.96. Now, if we really just zoom in, at this area, the low, the super low, was around about. Let me get a ray so I can get this accurate. 114,723.16. How close? We're 80 cents away, which I think is pretty good. Obviously, there might be differences in Binance versus other places and, you know, other platforms and exchanges and whatnot, giving different values. But I think that's pretty. I did not delete that. I think that's pretty good. Obviously, that's my opinion, but I think that low is pretty good. So we had that low. Obviously, we had our move. I'm not going to really talk about this. I can't be bothered. I'm just going to talk about this whole thing. Yes, we did have this going on. Had a massive resistance. Had a massive retracement. Finally coming towards this area once and for all. All this I had this actually proper green line here. Looking at this, just absolutely like that. I'm going to delete that now actually. But yeah, just really, really nice. Is that a low? No, it's not low. Is this low? No, it's not. So yeah, not bad. I'm pretty happy about this. What's this red line? No. Just make sure. I'm just see if I can delete anything. You know, I'm trying. There's a lot of talk. I've been saying some alone since April. I've never promised Disneyland. I hate Mickey. Do you know what? Do you know what? Another thing I hate, and I hate them with a passion. And you know, hate is obviously a very strong word. And you're supposed to say, oh, I don't really like, or oh, you know, I'm not a fan of. I hate Disney adults. And if you are one, apologies for the absolute just bombardment of hatred language. But I don't like them. And these people who they just get so excited about like a ride in Disney, and they go and they're like big people and they just scream at it. It's like, shut up. Like, you're an adult. Like, you're 40. What are you doing? Like, it's Mickey Mouse. Like, shut up. Why are you getting so excited? Anyway, whatever. I might have just alienated a ton of people then. I don't know. I don't know what the overlap, the Venn diagram of crypto and Disneyland adults are, but hopefully it's not very big. But anyway, let's actually talk about you know, the charts. So we've come to this area. What do they do? All the lows, whatnot. And again, okay, you know what? This is really ugly. I'm so sorry what I'm about to do. I'm going to make another group. I'm making another group so I can hide it. There we go. All right. I just wanted to really quickly just, you know, look at it. And this is kind of what, this isn't like a massive thing. I just wanted to look at, I just want to look at like kind of on the daily and kind of make the point of it's not that bad. You know, it's like if we go on the 1 hour, we go on the 50-minute, it looks like the world is ending and Bitcoin is just absolutely just like doing like nothing, and we're going 60k, it's over. Sell your Bitcoin now. You know, you might as well not hold it. You might as well go get a job in McDonald's. It's not that bad. You know, if you look at it on daily, we're just doing normal price action. You know, obviously we had these little prints and whatnot, and you know, I think the main thing for me, obviously we have these wicks, and again, it more matters where you print rather than the wick. And if we can kind of look at this kind of flow, we have this like low, we have another low, and then we've printed above this with this massive candle here, and now we've retraced back into this area, which obviously we had this massive wick at 114, and I can only comment on these candles on the daily anyway, because again, these wicks, like whatever. So in terms of the idea of like the flow of things, coming up above this is definitely a very important thing to do in terms of having this retracement and then coming back upwards again. I'm not saying we're going to have a pump, we're going to go right back up to 125k, because you know what, shoot me, but I wouldn't be surprised. I have to do some nuance on this, but in terms of we do have so much more we could potentially see below us. I'm not saying we have to come exactly to 110k, we have to come all the way back down to do anything, but obviously, you know, it's just something to think about, especially since on the weekly, like, you know, we do have a bit of a potential to come into, you know, come down a bit, you know, but I'm not saying that. I'm not that, for me to say that, it hasn't been nuanced enough. I haven't actually looked at the chart properly to say that. So do, you know, be careful of what I just said. But let me go back to the 1 hour. Let's actually give a bit of information on now, basically. I want to talk about now. This is on the 1 hour. I don't know what I had drawn. And the thing is, right, it's hateful for myself as well, because I don't remember what I had shown and what I didn't show. But let's just show this for now. Obviously, we were talking about this gap back here. Wicked above it. On the lower time, we actually just had a lower time. We just reversed on the lower time frame. We didn't even come up or anything. And obviously we continued downwards. And now I'm kind of really looking at, I think it's the 50 minutes. So I'll look at that in a second. In terms of the idea of we've come down, we've come past all these lows. And this is the thing, it's like, yeah, okay, on the daily it might not look crazy, but it's like, you can't look at the daily and find out, oh, we're in an uptrend on the daily, and then go to the 5 minute and trade that. Because, I mean, yes, you can take into account in terms of, okay, we're in a downtrend. We've come to potential, you know, where a potential low area could be, where potential buy could be. So if I'm trading on the 50 minute, yes, okay, I want to pay attention to what the 50 minute's doing, but I also want to look at if we could have a reversal because of considering the higher time frame, what we're doing on higher time frame. But that's realistically like the best you can use daily on like lower time frames. My camera has gone blue, so let me just do this quickly. There we go. I've got this like fancy Chinese camera, and you do some like hand signals, and then all of a sudden it like follows you everywhere you go. And I'm a hand talker, so it sometimes just turns on. But anyway, 1 hour. Let's actually just jump down straight to 50 minute here, because I mean the only real thing I can talk about is this massive move down. And do you know what? It's been a really just absolutely aggressive move down here. Again, not unwarranted, not unwanted for me. I did want this. But do you know what? It was really, really massive. But obviously had this move down. We've started this move. Obviously we've had this kind of like shimmy move up, whatever. We had obviously this massive, and just look at the candle. This is crazy. Like, it's just so uniform. It's just like constant move down, which is really, really cool. Obviously coming into this area, which was very nice. We obviously started to slow down here clearly, with this kind of whole thing going on here, kind of forming this entire area and then wicking past this and then coming back upwards. And obviously a bit of resistance as we continue upwards. This whole area is just definitely just going to be resistance. As you can see, we have these two candles, we have this retracement, we have a retracement back upwards, you know, fulfilling, again, midpoint is just a general area, whatever, retracing back upwards and then obviously continuing downwards. We have this massive wick into the important area, so realistically rejection block and whatnot. We can see we also roughly come to the midpoint of this, so a technical support area, if you will, for potential reversal. Again, this is the thing, it's like there's different ways of reversing. I think one of them for me to watch, I look at, or not look at, but is in like I notice a few times anyway, is massive wick into a higher time frame area, like obviously once we came past where is it exactly? Once we came roughly past 115.7, that's kind of like, okay, this is no man's land. This is like where we should realistically be focusing. Where's my... Oh, right. I was wondering whether the top left thing went. But in terms of we've actually come to this area, okay, cool. We've come into this area. What we want to do, same thing I was saying on, okay, well, on the 4 hour, or the 1 hour, we have this massive buy area. We need to take that into account the 50 minute. It's like, why do we stop this move? Obviously, we want to watch for this reversal now, as in theory, we should be buying at this area. We should start to reverse it at this area. This should be support. So obviously, if you go to the 1 hour, it's like, yes, we do have quite a big move down, but now we should start to look for a move, reversal move back upwards into, certain areas. There we go. So yeah, obviously we did that. Obviously, we formed a rejection block coming into this area, which then allowed us to do a higher low in this case. Obviously, candle prints, yes, we did print lower within this, but again, the major actual, what confirms a true print low and actual downtrend is coming past the lows. In this case, obviously, we had this kind of high, and then we printed past this whole area, and this is when we want to watch to see if we do a higher low, which obviously we did in this case, and then we continue back upwards, and then just normal reversal back into an uptrend, which obviously we want to do then, clear cut, normal as the sun coming up after the moon, I guess. We obviously want to look for this retracement, watching to see where we could come to, why could we come to it, and so on and so forth. For me, obviously, this was just a straight line down. Obviously, we've been seeing our hits in the way of this, but again, as we've come up, we've been forming a really nice move upwards, continuing this whole thing on the way upwards. Obviously, this main area, in theory, because again, it's like, yeah, this area is what we want to watch for, but you can come as high as the previous high, but if you wick past it and then start to reverse, it's like that could also be a retracement to wick it and then reverse and then come back downwards again. to 113. Not saying that will happen, I'm not saying that, but just an example that this isn't perfect or anything like that. But again, we have this area, we have these kind of triple equal highs here going on. We have this general area, which I believe maybe on the 1 hour. I mean, it's kind of just an arbitrary area, but the main kind of concept is that we have these highs, and it's kind of in this area. So again, I'm not saying we are going to reverse it. I'm not saying we're coming down to 113k, but I mean, you know, in terms of what we have, I think we have these equal highs we're forming right now. This high, these highs. We have these old highs. We have this whole area about 118.5. So I would like to see if we could come above this and see a bit of resistance or come down again. But I think again, I don't want to say a confirmation of what I think just based on the 50-minute. I'm going to go to the 1 hour as well and look at this. But I think in general, yes, we have had this massive retracement, and I think for me, it's we have these massive movements upwards in this 117, 116.5 area, and I think this obviously comes from a period of us reversing as well. So this is definitely going to be an important area, no matter what. So I do definitely think we've had a really nice move upwards, but I think on the 1 hour to have a substantial move upwards, I think I wouldn't be surprised if we could come down a bit more and have a substantial move downwards and then continue back upwards. But I mean, again, I don't think this is the start of a downtrend. You know what? Before I want to make sure I'm fully right on what I say. Let me look more on the 50-minute. So we have this normal move. I kind of just mapped out, but this is before the stream as well. I mapped out kind of the areas that we produced as we were on the way upwards. But again, we just clearly have this 118.2 area. It's just kind of keeping us down, keeping us stopped. Probably somewhere back here. But the main thing for me obviously was these areas as we come upwards, which we've been using fine, but clearly we haven't really been doing any highs. We haven't done anything. So we've kind of had this stop area, this 118 to about 118.2. We're just kind of squeezing. So clearly there's going to be something big happen soon. Not saying a massive move to 112 or anything, but a move which kind of has a big magnitude, whether it be a massive move up, massive move down again, or anything of the sort. But I think to try and gauge if this would happen and where it would come to if it was to happen, I think we do have those highs on the 50-minute. We have obviously had a big retracement into these massive areas, and I think we do have area of support below us. I think we've already started this potential move upwards. Again, this isn't the most significant high, but technically, yes, we had these lows, and then we had this high, and if we continue to this low again, after forming this high, and again, on the 50-minute, we would watch this come down. Clearly, we've printed above. Clearly, we've had these lows, and we've printed above again. So it's not that we're still in this downtrend. This is just a massive move down to find this buy area, and then continue back upwards again into an uptrend. So for me, it's not a thing of, okay, well, we're going to find resistance and then start to aim for the lows again because we're already in this uptrend. So for me, it would be, instead of that, it would be aiming for the highs, aiming for support on the inner moves of our trend, which obviously, you know, in this case, we do actually, to be fair, have a 117.5 here as well. So I didn't think for me, it'd be like, okay, where's the main area, which of like the first low before we start to move upwards for this whole area to have a retracement. Obviously, this actually sits a bit lower to 116 as well. Obviously, equilibrium being about 116.5, which is where we're talking about. We're talking about 117k to 116.5 as well. So something within this area. To be fair as well, obviously, last candle before the move upwards, which obviously came into these lows and this rejection block and whatnot. So actually, this would probably be a bit of support area, midpoint at about 115.6. So we could have a pretty deep retracement in theory. I'm not saying we do reverse on this, because again, this is the thing. It's like, this isn't a one hour massive resistance area. It's a 50-minute idea where we could have a bit of a move here. But clearly, we are slowing down. We're not really having expansive moves upwards. If you compare this move we had to the previous moves, and I'm aware, actually, I do need to move on. I forgot that I have so many more coins to cover. I just realized, okay, I'm being a bit more quick on this. That we have these expansive moves versus where we are now, where we're not really doing anything. We haven't had a big move. This was big, but these aren't big moves. Especially, we had this move, we had a bit of retracement, this move, and now we're having this really slow move. I do think we can edge up one more time, but I think from here, it's like we do have a bit of resistance here as we've come into this big retracement area. But I think from here, I'm not aiming for this. On the 1 hour, on the 4 hour, yeah, we could probably look at it on the 4 hour and look at the fact that we have this area and that we're coming upwards into what seems to be filling it at about 118.5, whatever this area is. But I do think if we potentially to 1 hour and the fact that we're starting to become into this uptrend and we've continued to do it, I do think we could potentially have that retracement, which actually produces a higher low and continue back upwards. But I think, yeah, if you really look at it, it's like we had this like whole area, we've had this massive move below it into this support point, and now we're back moving upwards into an uptrend. So realistically, is this just a retracement back upwards and we're going to dump to 112? I'll eat a hat, but, you know, I don't think so. So that's kind of, I know it's really choppy language, but that's kind of what I think in terms of relatively close with what we have here. We could see a bit of a slowdown. As we've already seen a slowdown, we could see a bit more of a move down from this area before we retrace back into potential support area and then move higher again. But I've just remembered I need to continue to move on because I have so many more coins to cover. So I will actually move on quite quickly. So, you know, I'll read the chat though quickly. You can tell it's summer, everyone's on holiday, even lads. I think we have another drop down. Yeah, I think so too. That's what I'm saying. Is like, I think for me on the 50-minute, because we don't have this. I mean, yeah, we did have. To be fair, actually, we did hover a bit, but this isn't really. This isn't this. This is not the same as this. This is a big. This is retracement. This is obviously expansion, retracement. This was expansion. We did have retracement, but then we did an equal high, and then we retraced a bit higher, and then we had a relative equal high, and then we've retraced a bit higher, and now we're hovering, and it's like we have the remainder of this area. We have these equal highs here, which come into this resistance area, and then have continued downwards, forming this massive move downwards. And we have all these highs. So I think we could retrace a tiny bit higher and then start that retracement. But as I was saying on the 1 hour, in terms of, I think obviously depending on what we had with this retracement, which sits at around this 115 area, we have this candle as well, the last candle before this move upwards, which has kind of a retracement into obviously these lows as well, and all this kind of area, and then it equals upwards and whatnot. I think we could probably see a bit of support down here as well. So I kind of just watching to see the 50-minute to then result in this move downwards and then continue higher. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. Matt reckons a big summer drop before October. Okay, yeah. I think we have that. We've had this 90k. I'm not saying we come to 90k. We had that 90k outstanding. We have this 112k outstanding. Even though we've come to 114k and seen a bit of support, and now we've come back upwards, you know, we still have 112 and whatnot. So in terms of if this is starting, again, obviously if you look at the 4 hour and whatnot and a bit of higher time frame, this has started technically on the 4 hour. We've printed past all these lows. And now we've just retraced, and we could potentially be doing a higher low or lower high, and then come even further. But I think on the daily, it's like if we don't look at, like, we haven't printed past lows or highs or anything like that. But in terms of what we're doing, if we look at the candle body as a rough example of what we could be doing, and kind of not predict it, but project what we could be doing, we have already printed past this 119 area in this Tuesday-Wednesday period, and now we've had this retracement for potentially what could be a higher low on the print. Obviously, we had this massive wick, but then could result higher. But, you know, we'll see. I do need to move on, though, to... I'll do Solana first, actually. I'm going to be a lot quicker on this. We have got about 30 minutes, so I'm going to rapidly go over this. This is what I was talking about on the daily in terms of the difference between Solana and Ethereum in terms of they've both had this retracement, you know, relative. Obviously on the 50 minutes, to be fair, it wasn't that big. On the Solana, it has been a pretty big retracement on the daily, but it kind of transfers for Ethereum. For me, we had that retracement on the 50 minute. We did have a bit on the daily, but not really like Solana. Obviously, Solana's case, we came to this area, obviously this first area of the main area for 109 or 209. We talked about obviously on Thursday. We have this area with this kind of in between this candle and this candle, which sits within this last low before we had this massive move up and a retracement. We have wicked into the main area 175. But in terms of where we've printed out, we've printed within this area, which again I suppose is it could be arbitrary. It's like, okay, well technically we've wicked past it, so is it really how we really used it? Obviously, you know, up for discussion, I suppose. But we have come into this area and we are printed. I mean, we're not really going up. We haven't had a massive move to a 200 or anything, but we have ground to think that we could have found a low and then move a bit higher on the daily, you know. And again, I think it's easier to talk about these things in the fact that it's not like across the board we've had the same move in Ethereum, Bitcoin, Solana. This is a period we've had in the charts where we've especially had periods of Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana moving totally different, and things just aren't aligning in the slightest. And again, they're separate coins; they don't have to align. But in terms of, I think this period, especially with the charts, I think is a period where I think we're allowed to have this, really arbitrary, not arbitrary. We've had this really large period where everything's moving differential from each other, and I think that's valid. I think that's valid. So to talk about charts moving differently, I think also makes sense. But anyway, I'm trying to. So daily. Let me go back to daily. Make sure I've finished everything. I had this as well. This is a low time frame. Okay. So I think that's all everyone wants to mention on the daily as a new update kind of concept, where okay, we've had this low to the high, and now we're kind of retraced. We've wicked onto this kind of perimeter area of this 175.9 area, which basically sits exactly on it. Obviously, I want to go to a lower time frame and see where we hit this low at, which obviously we did kind of glint out on the 1 hour. But that's realistically all it is on the daily. So I'm going to hide that now. That's not what I wanted to hide. I want to hide this and this. There we go. So going on to 1 hour now. So, I don't really have I kind of want this, actually. You know what? No, I'll have everything. It kind of just shows the same thing we're looking at on the 1 hour, but on here. We kind of came past these lows, I suppose, as well. These lows here. We pretty much just fulfilled the entire area. Again, this is a daily area, which printed at the midpoint of the daily, but on the 1 hour, it looks a bit deeper and whatnot. We've had this print past this area. We've had this kind of massive downtrend, really clear downtrend, really nice highs and lows here. And then we've had this area, which has come past this, and then we've had this move upwards, which has come past this area. So we're clearly in a bit of an uptrend here. Massive area as well within about 184 as well, to obviously find support at as we continue to take highs and find support within our trend. Showing the 50-minute now though, hiding this. I do want to talk about. I'm trying to see if there's anything I don't want to. Okay, yeah, I'll hide this as well. I just want to make sure I've got everything out the way. I don't really want to look at it. 50-minute here. So this is, again, same concept in terms of we've had this downtrend, but this is on the 15-minute now. Obviously, we had this resistance. Obviously, I think I drew this new, actually. We had this resistance on the way down. Again, we've come from this massive area. We've had this retracement. I drew this high here. I think this might have been on a bit of a lower time frame as we've continued downwards anyway. I have this area. I think, was this on? This must have been a lower time frame. Oh no, it was this gap, right? Okay, I was just trying to make sure I knew what this was. Right, so this was just us just continuing this downtrend down, continuing this downtrend downwards through all these kind of gaps as well. Obviously, we filled this gap. Obviously, found this massive wick at this resistance on the 50-minute. Continued downwards. Obviously, we've got this gap. We have filled this. We did come down, but again, the difference between these periods, and I've talked about it so many times, the difference between these periods and these periods, especially, is considering. Again, we did have these massive gaps, but in terms of this consistent move upwards versus these kind of retracements, move up, retracement, obviously move up, retracement. It's not a strong move upwards as it is here, where the difference between us fulfilling these massive expansions downwards versus this area where we have these massive expansion downwards, but we have these pretty nice trend upwards, is that we have this actual internal support, especially seeing as though this is now an uptrend, considering we've come past this high. This is now an uptrend as we've continued. So now we're aiming to use these as support and take these highs, and obviously these old highs, as well as potential areas to stop at and reverse a bit and whatnot. So to find retracements at. So the difference, again, like I said, between this and this is now we're in an uptrend. We have these support areas between these gaps where we now find support a bit and continue upwards above these highs. And obviously we've had this 50-minute high, which actually was formed, and this is what I drew actually before the stream, but I think I deleted it, it formed from this period downwards, which continued this reversal actually. Obviously we came to this high, lower high. We had this kind of semi move upwards, and then had this move downwards, which actually resulted in us having a pretty big gap. Again, as we fulfilled this area, we had this produced quite a big, and again we did have it here as well, and we did fulfill. I think actually on the 1 hour we had the gap which I was talking about with this area, which obviously we fulfilled into as well, having this resistance on the 50-minute. Let me delete this. Which formed this gap downwards as we found a lower high now actually, and then we printed past this. To be fair, now I'm looking at it, this is actually the period where we started to show signs of reversal, probably looking better on the 5-minute, for example. But obviously we formed this low with this gap, which retraced upwards. This is obviously, this is quite a big thing, I think, as well, where we have these expansions past the lows or past the highs, where these are quite significant areas to focus on for if you retrace back into having a deep move back downwards. Again, this is the start of what could be a downtrend. downtrend, and again we come into this gap, fulfill it, and then have massive expansions, which produced us actually printing past the most significant low, which then really resulted in this massive downtrend. So this allowed us to actually look at, okay, this high started this move. This is definitely going to be a very strong high as we have these expansion downwards, which obviously we've been using on the way upwards as well, and finding these support areas as we continue with this, order block, for example, as we've continued back upwards. So clearly a good high, which we've now taken, with this move as well, and now we've continued back downwards, obviously printing past these significant areas and whatnot into a downtrend. So clearly we're going to be in a downtrend until we find a significant area of reversal, significant area either on the high time frames, which we want to watch on the 50-minute for a reversal. So in this case, if we go to like the 1 hour, let's say, we just have these massive areas down here, for example. On the 15-minute, these are easy to see. Again, on the 1 hour, this is a massive candle, which doesn't really result in anything. To be fair, with this, it would be probably more so the last low. And again, same concept here, where we have the last low before the move upwards, which resulted, because again we had this downtrend, and now we started in this move upwards from this low. So clearly this is now going to be a support area. So this kind of results in the midpoint being around $180 as well. So I do think within this we are probably going to see this support point within sitting at about $180. I'm not saying we do. Again, there's significant areas on the way down as well, and I'm not saying we do guarantee see these move downwards, especially in these retracements, as we see these outlasting candles, as we kind of looked at already with this candle. This is a propulsion block now, so now this is going to be an order block. So now if we draw this is now a support. This didn't produce a down close candle to an up, so this isn't going to be support. But the same concept, that we're in this downtrend until we find reasonable cause to see back upwards. We are going to see support on the way down. But I think if we continue this trend, and if we go to the 1 hour, we're starting to do it. Again, we have these most significant, we have this move upwards. These are the kind of the outlasting candles, which we've now printed past, and obviously we're tracing back upwards into this gap area about 186. But on the 1 hour, even though it's very small, we're starting this move. So the next kind of checkpoint for me is 185-ish, 184.50. Again, if you print past this, it's the same concept where we start to retrace deeper. But again, on the concept that now that we start this uptrend, if we have a deep retracement for a long to come past 190, it should realistically be aiming towards 183. Not saying it has to, but aiming towards about 183, 181 below this equilibrium. So to see the plausible area, again, we do technically have this 180... 181.5 area, but I think it could go as deep as 180, considering. But to be fair, that is on the 1 hour, that is on the 15-minute, to be fair. So the severity, the strength of it might not exactly be there. But I think, again, I do want to watch it, but I do think we could continue this downwards. Similar kind of across the board, as we kind of have that going on Bitcoin soon, potentially having a deeper retracement. I think the same for Solana, as we've seen this new high, or we've started this new trend upwards. I do think we could have that retracement for a new low and then continue back up towards 190. So that is pretty much what I think for Solana so far. Again, I think I do still have, not faith, but I'm interested, considering what we've had with this gap, and we've kind of come to the midpoint, and we had this low, and now we could potentially be in an uptrend on the 1 hour, and that could start to translate to the daily as well. We could potentially see a bit more of a push upwards, maybe taking this high and whatnot, and maybe trying to get up towards maybe 216. But I know I was talking about 220. We don't necessarily have to come to this area at all. I think maybe even coming past 210 could be significant. Again, considering we have this, we have a bit of a support, a bit of resistance in this green candle. We do have this massive wick before this results in this move down. So I'm not saying we have to. I don't necessarily think there's still, I think there's a strong chance that if we had a bit more of a push upwards, in terms of we haven't really had that deep retracement, and again, I think we could probably use Bitcoin as an indicator to see what the price action could be as it translates to Ethereum, as it translates to Solana, in terms of how we've had this massive pump upwards, had this bit of a choppy area, a bit of a slow retracement, and now we've had a pretty big dump towards 114k, and then had a bit of a move upwards. So I think if we use this as an idea, I think obviously Bitcoin had, they're all different coins. Again, Solana could have another push up, but Solana could spend its time not really getting much higher than where we are, and then have a dump maybe towards considerable areas, about 150, 165, 157 kind of area for these lows, and then have a bit more of a move upwards. So I think we could across the board use Bitcoin as a indicator to see what we could potentially do as it translates. But again, these coins are moving, especially now, as I've already mentioned, very differently from each other, as we've seen this kind of flow of money moving into different coins at different times. And as we've translated lower and lower to altcoins, as we've seen with Syrup, as we're potentially seeing now with Crow, we're seeing lower and lower cap coins starting to have these massive pumps. So, you know, I think they all kind of, it's kind of like a domino effect, if you will, where I think I do want to, if it starts to happen on Ethereum, I would be more confident in what I'm saying now, in terms of if Ethereum starts to have this deep retracement, which I think it probably could have, considering what we've done on Bitcoin. If we start to see it on Ethereum, I think the general kind of formula I will have for my streams going forward will definitely be translating what we've done on Bitcoin and therefore what would happen on Ethereum to Solana, to Syrup, to all these coins where we've had these massive retracements before we could potentially move up. So I think I'm taking extra special focus on what Bitcoin's doing now to see if that translates continuously into Ethereum as we follow this phase which we're having right now in the market. So, but as I see it right now, I think Solana could have that push upwards. Obviously, in this case, we're having that, we could potentially have that 180 area, but I think in general we have this starting of what could be an uptrend, a bit of an uptrend anyway, especially if we take into account what we've had on the daily, where we've kind of hit this equilibrium point, we've hit this kind of support area in between 177. We've obviously wicked down for these lows on the 1 hour. We could start a bit more of a move up on Solana. So jumping onto Ethereum now, trying to not waste much time in like a lot of just random explanations of stuff. So jumping onto Solana now, or Ethereum now. Daily, again, it doesn't look very similar to Solana or anything like that, but you know, I've been majoritively focused on the 1 hour for this. It's been very hard to talk about. Oh, not hard to talk about, but the daily's not really much interest to do. Again, on Bitcoin, same thing on Bitcoin too, to be fair. I think Solana's easier to look at on the daily because we actually have a nice move. We have normal move upwards and actual areas to look at on the daily, whereas obviously with Ethereum, yes, we do have these lows, and yes, we do have this move down, but I think it could go so much lower. Again, in this case, obviously we have this whole area where this could have this massive retracement, and if we really focus on this massive move, if we were to start to reverse, this sits, you know, where does this sit at? Let me go to this. There we go. I mean, this sits at low, as to be fair, 2700 as well. To be fair, with Ethereum, it does sit quite deep, especially with some of these areas down here in the basically this. Hold on, let me actually draw this properly. I've just duplicated it. I don't want to do that. There we go. In this area at about 2755. Obviously, we had this equilibrium at 2750 as well. So this, yeah, I definitely see this area. I think it's the same thing with Bitcoin having 114 versus 112, or a bit lower as well, because you know we kind of have this area. And we have this area where they're basically the same thing. Like, you could draw this entire area as this, but I think these are two separate areas where we could have, you know, if we maybe look at it on a lower time frame, which had this be the kind of low, it sits within, you know, 3,200, which we were kind of looking at within this area. If we drew it again, 3,300, 3,200 sitting in this area. So I think it's the same thing where we've got this 114 area, but we could have like 110, let's say, on Bitcoin. Same thing here. We have this, you know, deeper area about 27, but we also have this 32 area. But anyway, going back to the 1 hour. Same thing here. We've kind of just been seeing, it's starting to get really messy here. Again, I should probably delete this area, or at least hide it. I can't even select it. There we go. I should probably hide this because it's getting really, it's messy. It's really, if you look at the left, it's absolutely monstrous. Again, I need to clear my charts. I think, again, I'll do it by Tuesday. I will try my hardest. I promise. I'm going to clean my charts up, because this is, I'm not expecting people to be able to read my chart and immediately look and go, oh yeah, I know exactly what he's going to talk about. Yeah, I know, that makes total sense, because again, there are a lot of boxes and all these lines and stuff. But again, it makes it easier if there's just not all this crap. Mike is still saying 4K. Now, you see, I think, and this is the thing, it's like, as I was looking at it on Bitcoin, where we had this wick down, and obviously we have this potential on the 50-minute where we could maybe start to reverse. I would want to watch it. Again, stuff on the 50-minute, it's like, yeah, within the relative 50-minute scale, let's say on the few hours or the day it takes to happen or whatever, great, but it's not really a long-term thing to actually pay attention to, and it's more of a thing you want to watch for. But there could be that potential for reversal, which produces maybe a higher low and starts a bit more of a move up or whatever. But again, we do have that 112 area and whatnot, and you know, now that I'm saying that, again, my actual point I was trying to make, the daily, again, those massive candles upwards which printed past the bodies, which really started that move upwards. You know, I could see it you know, potentially starting a bit more of a move up as we continue back upwards. Now that we've seen, again, now that we've come into that really higher time frame, or, you know, 4-hour higher-ish time frame, again, you know, we technically wicked into it on a daily, but we've moved pretty fast into it on the 1 hour and moved pretty fast outwards. Now that we've come into that higher time frame, high interest buy area, I do think it could result in a bit more of a move upwards for Bitcoin, as I've already talked about. I'm not going to say it over and over again because, you know, I've got like 3 more coins to cover now. Oh no. I've got this, I've got Syrup, I've got Moon, and I've got Crow. So I will go a bit faster than I am right now. I've got about 16 minutes left, so I think I can do it. So, my main thing... Okay, do you know what? I'll spend the tiniest bit on the 1 hour. The main trend so far has been this. Again, as we've been looking at it, we've obviously had this downtrend, and then we had this like low. And then what I was looking at, which I will obviously go to the 15-minute, as we were talking about on Thursday, was this area down here, especially this low I was talking about. I don't think I think I wasn't too confident we would come to 3,500. I definitely, on the 50-minute anyway, saw these areas down here, which again we will go into in a second. But from here, we realistically had this really weak. We didn't really have a high. We didn't really have a low here. Obviously, we then pushed past this high and this high. We've done a new high here, wick past this, and now we're starting to come down again, especially coming past this 3,740 area. Yeah, we're definitely coming past this. As you can see, we've printed down, and now, you know, could potentially start to do a bit of a lower high here and start to come down again as we've come into this main resistance area. You can see this main midpoint has been resistant for quite a while. We've nipped up into it, and now we've come down again. This kind of looks similar to one of those phases we've got going on where we produce a bit of resistance in this area, you know, fulfill it once more, especially come past this wick, you know, fulfill. You know what, I should just zoom in on the 50-minute. Look at this. Yeah, here it is. This is the same. This is kind of the same thing here going on in terms of we have this area, which obviously we come into the midpoint and then come down. We now produce this high. We wick past this high, fulfill a bit more, and now we haven't actually dumped or anything, but, you know, could potentially start to see. There we go. Could start to potentially see a bit of a move down, especially seeing as though we are in this move. We haven't printed past this high or anything. We haven't. To be fair though, we have come past this in this downtrend, and we've printed past this, so we could maybe push a bit higher for Ethereum. I mean, I think if we look at it, we took this high, we took the last highs as well with this last candle, and as you can see as well, what we have with this is we come to into it and then come down again. So we actually have a propulsion block here and an order block in this whole area, and as you can see with this, we didn't actually hit it, to be fair. We come past this high. We had this, we just talked about that when we came past this, but we do have a bit of resistance anyway in this, in terms of this being the last candle, which obviously came past the previous high, and then proceeded in coming down, obviously engulfed it, proceeded to come down into a downtrend and come past these lows. So if we start to come upwards again, I could definitely see this being a bit of resistance. If we don't take this high, we're not going to continue. I don't think we would continue that, and then we could potentially come down. I mean, if we start really expanding upwards towards this area, we could produce a bit of support if we continue an uptrend again, aiming for highs, finding support within this move, especially if this is the start of it. This, again, we've taken this high. If we retrace, we would probably be looking at about this area. And in this case, you can see, I'll probably look at it on the 5-minute here, actually. We would have this area where we actually have the last candle before this move upwards actually sits pretty much exactly in this area, where if we now draw this, we have this area. There we go. Which sits within this kind of general area, about 3,720 as well. So I definitely think, you know, as we see it, it's like this whole candle is the focused area to find support at. And again, if we start to reverse potentially, obviously not saying we do that, but obviously, you know, what we've taken this high with the wick, we've obviously printed past this area. If we retrace, we want to aim for the internal area and take out highs. So if we retrace and start to use 3,300 as support and then continue higher, I would want to aim for this area as we continue up to this support. So and as we continue to that resistance. So as I see it, on the 50-minute in this general area, we could be starting to edge back upwards into this 3,800 area, looking at this area and whatnot. But obviously, that's the 50-minute. I do want to pay attention to this on the 1 hour, and especially on the 1 hour as well. We also have the same concept where we've had this area, we've come up, and we've printed past it, and now we have started to potentially print past this, but the most significant high is definitely this area. So until we continue this move, and to be fair as well, and now that we look at it, it's like this is the significant low. So we haven't truly printed past the significant low to be in a massive downtrend on the 1 hour. But what could be on the 15-minute is that resistance to have a lower high and continue downwards again. But what I also want to look at as well is what we looked at previously. Oh, yeah, we also had this. I think we just drew this actually. We all just looked at this, but I want to look at this before I move back on again. I've only got 11 minutes to look at 3 things. To kind of look at what we talked about on Thursday before, obviously, we move on, which was my main focus for this was looking at the retracement of this area. It sat at about 3,500 area, 3,000 this area. Looking obviously at this gap, which we had, it actually isn't drawn right at all. There we go. I don't know why that isn't drawn right. There we go. That sits about more in the midpoint. Obviously, this fills it as well. We had this low, massive move, pretty expansive move downwards to fulfill this. And then we had a massive move from this low, continuing. We took this low. We were wick. Obviously, we did technically print past it, but the new low would be there. We fulfilled this and then continue back upwards. So this is what I was talking about on Thursday, just to kind of give an update on the result on that, which obviously resulted from this move. We were looking at this resistance. I think if you look at it, it was here. It was Thursday about 9. We were looking at this last candle, which took this high, which obviously got engulfed, which forms a order block. So you can see we took this high. We drew it as well, and what I was talking about here was we had the 1 hour midpoint resistance, and we had this order block. So I was really heavily focusing on this area when we started to move away from it. When I was looking at it about here, it was maybe roughly about within this candle, and I was saying, okay, we've found this resistance. I reckon we could continue downwards, and then where we could find support would probably be within one of these areas down here. And obviously the focus then was the major low to the major high, and then obviously sitting below equilibrium was this area. So that was kind of the results of that, which then resulted in us moving back upwards and obviously doing our thing on the 50-minute. Anyway, we definitely printed past these highs here and started this uptrend to move back upwards. So yeah, but anyway, that's kind of just an update on what we actually talked about on Thursday. On Thursday, yeah. If you were there, obviously, on Binance Square or on YouTube, whatever, we did. That's what we did. So yeah, that's kind of what I mean. To reiterate what I said, because again, I've just yapped about something not what we're doing right now. I do think we have this move from what I talked about here in terms of retracing a bit lower towards 3,200 to find a higher low and then continue upwards. If we continue this move, again, we had this downtrend. We've had a pretty expansive move upwards. It's not really been choppy. We've had a decent, a tiny retracement, but I do think we could maybe come down a bit. Again, there's no grounds to say we are reversing now, so we could continue higher for sure. But I think as we move upwards, and I think the thing is as well, it's like with this, it's like this could move up and up as we continue, which then results in us having this area on the 50-minute. Let me draw it properly. There we go. So as we kind of move upwards, if the high kind of sits within this area, this also starts to edge into fulfilling this gap about 3,725 as well. So I think we could be on the chance of having this move up, especially seeing as though this isn't a choppy move or anything. This is actually decent expansion relative to what we've been doing. But this is pretty similar to this move, let's say. So I think this could be the start of a bit of a move up for Ethereum. So definitely have support if we start to reverse or retrace anyway from this move as we continue. But again, this is probably going to be pretty strong support or resistance anyway for Ethereum. So I think regardless of how we exactly move, I think we could start to move upwards into this area. But like I said, this is the 50-minute. I don't really have grounds to say we're reversing. We've just started to move upwards anyway. So maybe, what I would maybe focus on for this is if we start to come upwards into kind of these significant areas, let's say that high, for example, this area starts to sit within equilibrium. So I would definitely look to see if we can reach this area and start to reverse on 5-minute, 50-minute. I would then focus on 3,727 and whatnot. But I know this is more the 50-minute. This isn't a long-term thing. So, that's what I would probably say in terms of, it's not like the 1 hour, it's not like the 4 hour, not daily, where this is going to happen over a long period of time. I think in terms of what we have, I would probably, on the 50-minute anyway, look at this move. But I think, again, that's the thing. It's like, on the 1 hour, I could probably look at this, and it's like we have this high with this high. We've taken this high, and we haven't taken this significant low on the 1 hour anyway. And on the daily, it's like, again, it's not crazy to look at either. It's like within this, it's like it's the same thing here. It's the same thing with this move, though. To be fair, where we don't really, it's really you know what, I need to hide the chart because it's really messy to look at all this. You know what I'll do quickly, I don't need to move on. I've got 7 minutes. I reckon I could do the other coins in 7 minutes though. I'm just gonna hide this. I want to actually look at the chart. I can't see the chart. Actually, you know what, I should have one chart for actual drawings and then one for just looking at the price action. But yeah, I think what I was looking at in this case, it was like, yeah, we've started to have this these candles anyway start to have this move upwards, especially here. It's like you know, this, you know, nothing here, you know, nothing on this high. We've continued downwards, you know, all these lows, especially printing past this, obviously printing past this one, and then we had this low, and then we printed past this area with here, and then continued down here, and then we obviously haven't done anything here. We didn't start that down move. We came down, we wicked past it, we didn't print. Obviously in this case, this was we actually didn't look at anything on Friday, but obviously in this case, this was the same thing. We didn't have that print, so then we start to move upwards. We didn't have that print past this area as we continued downwards, and we started to kind of take these highs. Again, this is the 4 hour. This is like over the last couple days anyway, but let me get rid of all this, and now we start to do this, and now we can see, like, with this is the significant candle high, if you will. We've had this print, we've had this move, and now we've had this, and now I'm not saying we're pumping right now. We've had this print in in not long, in like 3 minutes, but you know, we're starting this move. We're starting this kind of I'm not saying this is the start of a move upwards, but we've had this move. We're starting this kind of little cheeky move upwards anyway. But I think, as I see it, especially with this, to be fair though, is like you know, we have a tiny candle body, massive wick. This, we could see resistance, and again, this, like I was just saying, in terms of 3,750 at the order block, we have what could be potentially a rejection block, especially considering we had these kind of relatively equal highs, which we took, and then we kind of come down a bit. If we go back to the 1 hour or even the 50-minute, like I said, we have I think it was this candle, which I drew, which you can see, like, the bottom of that, like I said, it was about 3,762, which also sits in the midpoint of what could be resistance on the rejection block. So I definitely could see resistance soon. Retracement wise, it's like, yeah, okay, on the 50-minute we do potentially have something, but on the 1 hour, it's like, if we reverse from here and continue to do that, you know, we haven't really printed anything. I mean, we probably would have, if we actually start to ramp upwards, and it depends on what we've done the 1 hour. If we continue upwards and have a pretty green print, we could have a bit of a print here in terms of having a gap within this 3,750 area, but I think it's really choppy area, especially seeing as though we've had this print past this area, we've come past this and done this, like, oh, I'm sorry, I can't even get past it. There we go. We've done this kind of low, and now we're coming upwards again. If we start to do another low, we could reverse like this and then aim for some lows again. But I think on the 50-minute anyway, as I've already said, to wrap it up, because again, 4 minutes, I will move on. But yeah, we do have this stacked resistance on the daily, and I think it was a 4 hour even. The 4 hour, and obviously, as we talked about the 50-minute with that order block, we have this resistance really soon anyway. I could probably see us coming down. I don't think we come to the likelihood of us either coming up towards 3,800, taking out some highs here, or coming down. I think we come down if we had to balance the odds here, or way up the odds even, is what I would probably recommend us coming down for Ethereum. Well, as I move on though, I will look at the chat. ETH has took out a key swing high on the daily into the LG, so there is a potential for reversal. Yeah. Okay, I'm just trying to see if I can see. I know. So I'm just looking at the. I think this is this probably what 3,771. Yeah, I think obviously this stacks up on obviously different time frames as they continue onwards. I think for me it's like we had this resistance for a while. In this area, which obviously we had resistance in this whole line, and then we came above it and then took this high, and now we're kind of coming down again. So I could definitely see that, and I think from the results on the 1 hour, I think when we have this reversal, it's not like we have massive expansion upwards to find support. And obviously on the 50-minute, I do think we could potentially see a bit of support. But I think we are definitely coming up to this area at least, and then coming downwards. But I could definitely see that area in terms of we definitely have outstanding 3,600 at least. I don't know if that's going to be the start for me anyway, the start of the massive move down towards 2,700. But I could definitely see I definitely see what you mean in terms of taking out that high. In terms of what we had moved so far, I think I'm just trying to look quickly. And I think I'm trying to see what would constitute for me the actual start of the move down. I think significantly would definitely be a 3,700 area, but I think also from what I could see, especially on the 15-minute, it's like we had this area, we've had this move upwards, and then we've had this move down. And yeah, I think we could have a bit of support. We could wick down, have a bit of a move upwards. But I think the general idea, or the general move anyway, we've had this move upwards. You've had this take of this high, and now we've had a move down past this low. This is starting to look like a reversal in terms of we've had this, in terms of this area, which had high, whatever. We took all this with this area and this old high here, and obviously we come down, producing this gap on the way down. Here, obviously came to the midpoint here. We haven't reversed. We haven't fully reversed. I think we're obviously starting to come upwards now. We've wicked past this. I think as we're continuing upwards, potentially see a bit of resistance. I think the last point of resistance, if we fulfill this gap at about 3,760, then could result in this general move down again, which obviously could result in us coming past 3,700. So yeah, I think when talking about the a bit of an area in terms of we've come past this, we could come upwards and come down again. I don't think this was a result in us coming past this resistance. I think it could result in like this, and then instead of finding the final resistance in this area, we find it at the higher resistance point. I would also be very interested to see in a retracement idea where we could come to. Actually, to be fair, also sits pretty much in this area of about 3,760. I think I already drew this, actually, to be fair. But yeah, I think in terms of a retracement, I think instead of it just being this gap, I think it would probably be a touch a bit higher, especially as we have this 3,760 area on the 4 hour, or the 4 hour, I think it was, yeah. So yeah, I could definitely see the reversal. I think what it would be for me would be resistance here. But now that I'm saying that, if we hit this area, it is the reversal point. We would just continue back downwards anyway. So, yeah, again, I'm interested to see. I do think I'm not holding too much hope, especially seeing as though on the 1 hour, we've just come to resistance. I just think as the whole trend's been, we had the resistance form. Let's just like draw a line from about here. It was about here from the midpoint. It's just been so far coming to the area, coming down, coming to the area, coming down, going to the area, coming down. Obviously, in this case, we work past this, again, taking this massive area, and this is going to come down again. So, yeah, I think we definitely see resistance there as well, as we've continued to see multiple times over. Thursday, Friday, and now Saturday. Pretty much 3 days in a row, we've seen resistance at this area and had a bit of retracement. But, yeah. I've kind of yapped actually there, to be fair. I've kind of said the same thing over and over again. So what I will do is move on pretty swiftly. The timer is run out. I pretty much think it's... So I'm just reading the chat quickly. I'm also looking at my timer. I've just realized it's literally just gone off. So I'm going to speed through the last 3 coins. So you might Jeremy's high? Okay, I will. Right, okay. But let me not do the weekly, actually. I'm just going to daily. Right, okay, I see that. So in terms of this range of the monthly, this. Yeah, okay. And this is resulted from a few days... let me zoom back in. In terms of resulting from this a few days ago. Okay. Yeah, I can definitely see that. Again, we've looked at this multiple times in terms of... I haven't actually looked back this far, to be fair. Oh, no, have I? I probably have. In terms of having a gap which comes to the midpoint, and then coming past the high and then seeing resistance. Yeah, actually, I could definitely see this. We've actually looked at this on Bitcoin and Solana now. So yeah, actually, no. In terms of a higher time frame, because again, for my daily, actually, I've only really been looking here, but yeah, I haven't actually looked back too much on Ethereum. I can see this as well, 100%. Especially coming from this gap, having this downtrend, having this high. We've obviously had outstanding in the high, and we've taken this high as well. Yeah, 100%. 100% agree with that. So what I'm going to do now, though, you know what? I think with SIP, what I'm going to do, instead of just doing a bunch of TA, I think I'm literally just going to say, oh yeah, I think we continue higher, but this is what we've done so far, just to show the general trend. I have all this TA. I'm going to be a monster again. I know I am. Okay, there we go. So what we had drawn, or what we had talked about anyway, I was talking about we could at least see resistance. Sorry, I need water actually. I'm only gonna be another 5 minutes. I'm not gonna try and yap and just consistently talk too long. I think I was looking on the daily for this. I think I was talking about a 60. I thought there was a remainder of a gap here, but I think I was mainly talking about 60 cent to about 58 cent. I could see resistance at least for me. Obviously, the dream target was 100% going to be the high anyway, especially as we came past this area here and printed above it and continued upwards. This was definitely the I should go to the 1 hour instead. Remember the 1 hour is a bit harder to look at. Yeah, here we go. So obviously we had this downtrend. Once we started to see a bit of a print passage, I think I talked about during the period. Yeah, we talked about here in terms of this change and as we were moving upwards as well and moving continuously. Again, it's really messy. I do apologize, but terms of the idea of we had this downtrend, the last trend being about 40 cent. Once we start to have that print upwards, it's like, okay, cool, we're taking out these highs, but if we look at it on the high, it's like we want to take out previous high and find support in these gaps. It's the continuous targets are going to be this high, these all highs, obviously this high and this high. It was just going to be the last two. Obviously, we actually took out both in this. Obviously, I was being a bit what's the word, like conservative with it, saying, okay, well, the last major high, obviously before the major high, which is like 66 cents, was about 58 to 60. So I was talking about on Thursday, 58 to 60 cent being a general area at least I could see come to as resistance if we continue upwards, which obviously we did do. Again, if we look at the 4 hour, we looked at we've already looked at this whole thing going on with this change. I think there's meant on the 15-minute, but obviously we had this low or had this high low, and then we print above it. And once we start to do this, once we had this whole downtrend, we started to print past it here, and obviously eventually print past it later on the Wednesday. But on the Tuesday, we had that print past this, which clearly had us start the uptrend. We can see we had this support area, which had a bit of a retracement back into it, and then we continued upwards. And then from there, we pretty much just continued, forming on the way upwards. These kind of moves upwards, taking out highs, taking out high. So in this case, same point here, I think, in terms of, we're having a retracement. This is normal. This isn't really expansionary or anything like that. But I think we're just continuing like this, wanting the highs. And again, we've been in this trend for so long now. In terms of this being, again, this is like a long-term high. So it's like, yeah, I definitely could see resistance here. Are we going to reverse here? Obviously, I mean, different question there. But I think we've already started this uptrend and we have this massive move upwards. This happened literally within like no time. It moved up like 30% in 5 minutes, 15 minutes. Maybe in the chat up on that square. Marcin, I have one question. Ask. Go ahead. Ask away. That's not what I wanted to draw. There we go. So yeah, I think this is what I had drawn on here. Yeah, really messy. Do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to reverse engineer what I've drawn. I think I was just looking at old TA in terms of... It's really bad, isn't it? In terms of old trends and old moves is kind of what I was looking at previously to just kind of give a bit of context. Not context, but general old stuff we've been moving in to give context. But yeah, obviously from here you see we print past this continuously, and then we had this area about 53 cent as we've been retracing. We have all these lows. I definitely think we could aim for this again. We also had this massive candle. We've been in the down again. This is relative to time frame again on the daily and whatnot. We're still in this uptrend. We haven't printed past a significant low, so we're not in a massive downtrend. We're just in this internal range, internal downtrend, obviously taking lows and whatnot. So in this case, we definitely have these areas which obviously we filled, come down, form midpoint down, and in this case we obviously formed this. We formed it. We then continued in a tiny bit more, massive move, or not massive, but decent move upwards. And now we're starting down again. So I definitely think once we surpass this area, sitting about 53 cents, I think we could aim to basically come to about the midpoint of this and then continue back upwards. But within this case, it's like, yeah, we have these candles. We have printed past them now, and now we're coming down. So I think best case scenario, we wick. But in this case, we've already printed past this, so we could continue this uptrend and actually just start to move back upwards for this. I think in this case, we do have this high. We do have this the rest of this as well, which also sits within this 0.5 area. So we could still see a bit of resistance at about 57, but I still think we're going to be continuing this uptrend. And if you look at the 15 minutes, it's the same thing here. It's like, you know, we had that move, which we just looked at, and then we had this massive print, and then we had these the gap which formed from this. We fulfilled it, we actually didn't do a new high or anything, but we haven't done a new low, so we're kind of actually hovering. But from this move, I mean, it's very gappy here. It's very gappy on this way, but we could obviously potentially be continuously doing this. Obviously, I think we just continue upwards in this general area. But yeah, I think I'm not gonna spend too much time. Again, I do need to end the stream. I'm gonna look at 2 other things, and that's it, because I've spent quite a while talking. I do try. I really do try, but you know, I just can never do it. So yeah, I think just continuously aim for, because this we've just done this, and it's like we've just done this, and we've already had, and the difference between like everything else and what I see with SERP right now, especially if you compare Bitcoin in terms of when we had that pump and whatnot. In SERP's case, you know, we've had that massive move upwards, the massive candle, which took like 5 minutes to do. And the difference with obviously this case, like SERP and obviously Bitcoin, like I just said, is we didn't retrace into the candle. We just had continuous move upwards and then massive dump downwards. So in SERP's case, it's been a lot more structured, where we've had normal uptrend, massive candle, which then obviously took out high or wicked past the high, and then we had normal retracement pretty much immediately as we reform the candle. So I think this is very structured. I think I'm not saying this, I don't think this necessarily means we're slowing down. I think this is very good as we continue this. I think we could itch higher as we continue this on SERP. So we'll obviously see how it goes. You know, not financial advice, but pretty happy with that so far. 2 more things. I have Crow to look at and Moon. So that's not what I wanted to look at. I'm really, I say this every time, but I'm not gonna spend too much time. I don't have too much to say, but I was supposed to talk about this. This is the same, basically like kind of same, a similar chart to SERP, where we've just recently had that change, where we're starting to move upwards. And again, to be fair, I did say this on the stream, where we have 2 alternating coins, where one is there's not one stable coin. They're both their own assets with different valuations, where Crow is going up. So technically, if Moon doesn't keep its pace and more, it won't move up at the rate which it could do. And obviously in that case, if Moon slows down a tiny bit and Crow keeps on going as it's going, it'll obviously, the valuation will kind of retrace and decrease as we continue this kind of if the balance of the pair leaves each other, if you will. But obviously we're still continuing upwards. Crow is moving upwards. We will talk about that in 2 seconds. I'm just going to say this and then move on. I think we retrace upwards as we've had this change, as we're potentially coming upwards. I had some on the 1 hour. I could probably have a quick glance at it. I don't really know what I talked about. I think I had this drawn. Again, watch for the reversal. We didn't have that. We took the low instead, and then we continue back upwards. So, still pretty good. From that, change in stay, we've still continued this move upwards, and we've printed past this. You can see, it's pretty rough to see, but you can see we've had that main move, and then we had that higher low from this kind of reversal, and then we printed past this from here, and obviously we're printing past this as well, and obviously look like we're aiming for this. So clearly a nice uptrend, especially on the 1 hour as well. So continue to do this. We've just started it. I think we continue upwards, see how we go from here. If we continue up for Moon. Crow. I think I used this. There we go. Same thing here. I think what I was talking about. What was I talking about here? I think I have 4 hour TA. This is not 4 hour TA. What is this? Oh, this is old stuff. This is like the old trend back here. Yeah, I was just looking at when we reversed from this low. But yeah, I'm gonna go to. I think it was the weekly I even looked at this on, which is quite kind of crazy. But yeah, I think I was just looking at this gap, which came into it. We formed this high and then dumped. Obviously, we had that reversal on the 4 hour, which we really quickly glanced at. Took the high, retraced. Took the high, retraced. In this case, we actually did the same thing we did on Moon, where you continuously through this. It's not like a set in stone thing. We can go as deep as the low and wick past it for a reversal. Obviously, in this case, we did, and then continue upwards. In this case, you can see over the last couple of weeks, we've been having that massive move upwards. About 75%. So I think we can continue this for Crow. I'm not saying we do. I think we could. I think as we're doing it, we're still in this uptrend. We're still moving. Where's the pen? There it is. We're still in this move upwards. taking these highs. This is really rough. It's like Santa's sleigh, but you know, we're still doing this, you know, move upwards. So I think we've had that retracement. I think if we're still in this uptrend, which I think we do, we haven't printed past the low or anything. You know, this is the low. Now this is the low in terms of these candles. We haven't actually printed past anything. We've kind of just done a new low, and now we should potentially aim for these equal highs and this new high, which results in this massive move upwards towards about 80% move, whatever it is, as we continue. So I definitely think Crow is moving upwards. We have this massive ominous area here for Crow. Again, technically, it's like we have had this downtrend. We have started this move upwards, but if we do have that retracement, which we need to, which obviously would result in this move. Obviously, the last high before we move down, it sits within this midpoint as well, about 37 cent as well. So I do think we could continuously retrace up into this area for sure for Crow and see some highs. So I'm bullish as of right now. I'm bullish on Crow. That's your clip. There you go. So that's pretty much it. I've talked to high heaven. You know what? Not bad. I think I went maybe live like a minute late, so maybe 100 an hour 15. I think that was not bad. I obviously had like 3 extra coins to cover. Or syrup. I have covered syrup quite consistently. Obviously, I have done 4, but obviously had these 2 coins I need to cover as well on the stream. So I think that 15 minutes over isn't that bad. But I've talked quite a lot. So, you know, thank you for sticking with me. It's been a lot. I'm excited to see how it goes. I will hopefully try and remember exactly everything I said, because I come into the stream and then it's like I just zone out, and there you go. That's just words for an hour and 15, whatever it is, and then I come out of it when the stream ends. So, you know, I will remember this for Tuesday, sorry. Obviously, come back on Tuesday, see how everything goes. Obviously, curious to see how it goes. Again, on a Bitcoin and a lot of things, some of the things we covered on certain charts, it's been on some like 1 hour, 50-minute stuff. So it will happen as we proceed into Tuesday. So interested to see how that goes. So, you know, let's see how it goes. Again, not financial advice. If you're watching this, you're like, this guy is definitely a professional. This guy sounds like he's got a license. I'm going to trade because he has a license. No, I don't. I'm not licensed. I just give my opinion. It's just, you know, a pastime. It's just a fun thing to do. You know, I'm having a little bit of fun. You know, so you know, if you are trading something, please make sure it's off your own volition or whatever. So, but regardless, thank you all. Whatever platform, Binance Square, Binance Live, YouTube, thank you for joining. Good stream, buddy. Thank you very much, KB. Appreciate it. I will be back on Tuesday. I'm trying to think. Saturday, back on Tuesday. Back on Wednesday as well. I'm updating. I've spent the last like day and a bit updating the app. Maybe even 2 days actually. I've basically revamping it because we've had, you know, the way I built it, it's like glitchy sometimes. I'm just literally kind of redoing the whole thing in terms of the internals to try and make sure we can have something a bit more consistent. So hopefully, I probably should have that done by Wednesday. We've got quite a few days anyway, so have that done by Wednesday. So hopefully they should be a bit more consistent in terms of what we have with the quiz. So we'll see how it goes. So I'm excited for. I think it's Mew on Wednesday. So obviously, if you guys are gonna be there, and if you are on Binance Square, I will say this: we have a quiz every Wednesday, pretty much every Wednesday, where we cover a meme coin or a project which we are, you know, with or whatnot, or we want to cover, and we do a quiz at the end where you can win crypto. So if you do, and we had some new people actually last quiz, and hopefully, I don't know if it was from me talking about it on the Tuesday, I don't know, I will talk about this on Tuesday as well. But if you are in Binance Square and you don't know what I'm talking about, please just make sure you go over to YouTube and go subscribe, or go to the Telegram if you do want to obviously be notified of this. It is a quiz we do on Wednesdays. You can take part, you chat in the YouTube chat, and you take part in a quiz, A, B, or C, and you could win crypto if you get in the top 3. So if you do want to come along, it is quite a bit of fun. So do remember that. Go subscribe to Crypto House on YouTube channel. And we'll be doing that on Wednesday. It'll be Mew. So obviously, if you want to do your research, you can do. Obviously, shout out to everyone who is consistent to the quizzes, because you guys are absolutely on ball to the research. So obviously, appreciate that. And it's just a lot of fun. So if you don't know what I'm talking about and you're interested, just do make sure you go subscribe and join us on Wednesday. And that being said, Kishan, good to you. Thank you. Appreciate it, Kishan. Hopefully, you know what, I haven't heard. Obviously, I have heard you've been doing filming and whatnot. You know, been away from the stream. It'd be great to hear how it's going. I'm actually really intrigued. And you know what, I really can't wait for it to actually come out. So, but shout out to you anyway. Appreciate it a lot. I will be back on Tuesday. Obviously, if I've got anything crucial to say, I'll be in the Telegram. And yeah, hopefully Wednesday will be even better than it already is. And yeah, going on. It's good to hear. Hopefully, it's going well. You know what, I'm excited. That's all I'll say. I'm excited. You know, so yes, I'm not keeping any longer. I've kept you for an hour and 22 minutes, hour and actual me speaking, about an hour and 15. I'm ending now. Thank you. Appreciate you all. See you Tuesday. See you Wednesday. Michael, see you Monday. And yeah, love you guys. Appreciate it. Goodbye.
20.